After a car accident, the insurance companies are not on your side. They're looking for ways to pay you less. Without knowing what to do, the insurance companies will finesse you out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm Peter Jaraysi, a personal injury attorney that has handled thousands of settlements, and I've seen insurance companies try everything in the book to try and pay less on these claims. But I have some good news for you. In this video, I'll be breaking down the top 5 secrets to maximizing your settlement after a car accident. Now make sure you stick around for the last secret because it's the biggest reason why people end up with a lower settlement than they deserve. Alright, secret number 1 is to make sure you get immediate and consistent medical treatment after a car accident. Getting into treatment as soon as possible is critical in proving your injuries are related to the car accident that caused them. If there's a gap in care from when the accident happened and when you have your first treatment visit, then that can create an opportunity for the insurance companies to say that, hey, I don't think your injuries were actually caused by this crash because you waited a week or 3 days or 4 days before you sought any treatment. So in addition to saying that, what they'll do is take the gaps and say, hey, well, either this wasn't related to the crash or you must not have been as hurt as you're claiming to be, so we're going to lower your settlement value. And this isn't just important at the beginning of the case when you're just involved in a car accident. It's equally as important in the middle of the case when you're in active treatment. If you have significant gaps in your treatment and you're not following your doctor's recommended plan of care, it can be very, very problematic when it comes to the valuation of your case. And that's why it's so important to attend all your appointments and remain as consistent as possible with all the treatment visits that you have scheduled. Now, I understand that life happens and sometimes you're not going to be able to make it to all your appointments. And in that case, what I would recommend and highly suggest is that you notify your doctors about the reason why you missed a number of appointments or you missed whatever it was. That way they can document your medical records with the reason for missing your appointment, so that way the insurance company knows it was for a valid reason. Now, if the reason is, hey, I just didn't feel like going to treatment, well, that's probably not the best reason to include, and you probably wouldn't want to tell your doctors about that. But if you do have a valid reason, like a death in the family or something else happened or some valid excuse that you have, you want to make sure that's documented in your medical records. All right, secret number 2 is not to accept the first offer. Do not accept the first offer that the insurance company gives you. Insurance companies, from my experience, always start low. And what they're relying on is the inexperience of the person on the other side to say, hey, well, the insurance company says I'm owed this, I'm just going to take it. More often than not, that first offer that they give you is the first of many offers that they'll put on the table if you push back. Now, when you come to the negotiation table and you want to push back on a lowball offer, you've got to come with some ammo. And the ammo in this case, or leverage in your case, is going to be the amount of medical bills that you have, the pain and suffering that you've experienced, all the documentation that you've got, in addition to the leverage of filing a lawsuit against them and the threat of taking your case to a jury. Insurance companies do not like courtrooms. They don't like juries because it's unpredictable. It's a huge risk to them. And if you can show the insurance company that you're serious and you're willing to go the distance to get what you deserve, they'll put real value on your cases. Now, I'll say this, it's really difficult to do this on your own if you do not have a lawyer by your side. Most people don't know how to file a lawsuit, go through discovery, and prepare a case to present in front of a jury. And that's where a lawyer comes in. Lawyers typically have a history of taking cases to trial, and they have that experience to be able to show the insurance company, hey, this is a very real risk that this case goes in front of a jury, so we might as well just pay whatever it is they're asking for, or at least a little bit closer to it so we can get out of this. Again, at the end of the day, the insurance company plays a game of risk. Just keep that in mind when you're at the negotiating table. All right, secret number 3 is to make sure you have strong medical evidence and documentation. For the most part, having detailed medical records that support your position tend to increase your settlement value significantly. Now, you can't just have medical records from just any doctor. It's important that you have evaluations from different specialists depending on the injuries that you have. For instance, if you've got a severe neck or back injury or significant neck and back injury, you'd want to probably go see an orthopedic specialist. And if you've got a brain injury or some concussion or anything like that, you'd probably want to go see a neurologist. Really, the idea is if you've got any injury, you're going to want to make sure you go see the specialist that's associated with treating that particular type of injury. injury. And what you want them to do is to be able to correlate the car accident with the injuries that you have to show that causal link between the two. And that's the key. There's been a big push from the insurance companies against what they call soft tissue injuries. Now, this class of soft tissue injuries is enormous, and you'd be surprised. A brain injury is actually considered a soft tissue injury. Typically, these are considered to be minor injuries in the eyes of insurance companies, and they tend to be undervalued if they don't have the proper medical documentation behind them. And just so y'all are aware, a majority of the cases out there after a car accident end up being soft tissue cases as classified by the insurance companies. So you want to make sure you're getting the strongest medical documentation possible in any case. All right, here's secret number 4, and that's using policy limits to your advantage. I have a lot of clients that'll ask me, hey, what's my case worth? What's the value of my case? And the thing is, it's not such a simple question to answer. And the biggest factor that tends to influence the valuation of the case is the available coverage in that case. Now, here's why knowing what the total amount of coverage in a case is important. Now, most states have what's called bad faith laws that prevent insurance companies from acting in bad faith when resolving or negotiating these types of cases. Now, under most circumstances, those bad faith laws don't come into play unless you've demanded or asked for the limit of the policies that you're going after. And again, this video could get really complicated talking about all the nuances of bad faith, but in essence, the reason that puts the insurance company in a position for bad faith is because they now have to consider the interests of their insured. If they refuse to pay the limits of a case and a reasonable insurance company in their position should have paid, then you now potentially have a bad faith case to bring against the insurance company after you go to trial and get a judgment or a verdict in excess of the policy limits that you demanded. Now, as you can imagine, that's a pretty big point of leverage for you when it comes to negotiating your case. If the insurance company feels that there's potential for bad faith and an excess verdict later on in the case, it's much more likely that they're going to end up just paying the policy limits out to avoid that risk. Now, there are a lot of states that'll make this complicated for the normal individual to get access to the coverage available in a case. If you're in a disclosure state like Georgia, you don't have to deal with this, but there are other states that actually don't release the amount of coverage available in a case until you file a lawsuit. And this is why it becomes so important for you to have your own coverage on your own policy. And the coverage I'm talking about is uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. This coverage acts as a supplement for you to utilize if the person that hit you or is at fault doesn't have enough coverage or doesn't have any coverage at all for your injuries. Having high uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage will protect you from any situation where you're dealing with a case where the other person does not have enough coverage or doesn't have any coverage at all. All right, now so here's secret number 5, and that's making sure you hire an attorney to maximize your settlement value. Now, I know most people think, oh, why would I hire an attorney? They're just going to take a third or 20% or 40% of the value of my case. But here's the thing, without a lawyer, the value of your case is going to drop significantly. Remember what we talked about earlier. The insurance companies are playing a game of risk. If they're dealing with you as an individual, generally the risk in that case is going to be lower because most individuals don't know how to go through the legal process, file a lawsuit, take the case to a jury, and get the verdict that they deserve. Whereas a lawyer with trial experience that's done this before, that the insurance companies know about, again, is a much bigger risk factor to them. And so that generally leads you to get a much higher amount when hiring an attorney. So even though they're taking a percentage of what you ultimately get at the end of the day, what you're walking away with is still more significant. It's larger than what you'd walk away with on your own, and you have to do less work. I've had a number of clients in the past that have tried to go at it on their own, and they just had the insurance companies running circles around them. The thing is, those clients didn't know how to pursue the legal process or even initiate a complaint in a court. And what we saw with those clients after they came to us was a significant increase in the settlement that they ultimately got. And most of them were over 3 times the amount that they were going to walk away with net at the end of the day. So my suggestion to you would be, do not go at it alone. It is not worth it. We just covered the 5 secrets to maximize your insurance settlement after a car accident. But did you know that there are questions that the insurance adjuster doesn't want you to ask after an accident? Then check out this next video where I show you the 10 questions that insurance companies are betting you won't ask after a car accident. We'll see you there.